we've talked about the Texans a few times in the context of the discussion about the Indianapolis Colts benching Anthony Richardson. There was news yesterday, and I think we knew this was coming. It was weird how the Texans were quiet about it. They're turning around for a Thursday night game. We saw the play. We've seen it before. Non-contact, guy goes to the ground, knee injury. You're assuming the ACL is the thing that went in that moment. It's happened time and again, and it was announced yesterday that that's what happened to Stefon Diggs. This moment, the cut against the Colts, he tried to fight through it, but he grabbed the knee, and he knew that that was it for the day, and he probably knew in his heart. I mean, pro athletes know their bodies well. Once you lose that stability in the knee, you know something's off, you know something's bad, and now Stefon Diggs, halfway through his first season with the Texans, he's going to be out for the rest of the year, and he faces an uncertain future because he's due to be a free agent in March. He's going to be rehabbing that ACL when free agency rolls around.
Yeah, a tough break for this team. And you know, just reading and seeing what all of the guys are talking about is they feel bad for him. And that, to me, sometimes shows more of what a team is kind of built on is when a guy gets hurt, everybody wants to, figure out and know, all right, who steps up at receiver? How do you get it done? Like, all these things. And when I see guys take a moment and be like, hey, like, we'll get that. We'll figure that out, and it is what it is. But they feel bad for Diggs, and I think that shows the impact he's had in the locker room for this team, coming in, getting voted a captain, first year in Houston. I think his leadership and the things that he's brought to this team that I think when he was in Buffalo was questioned a lot, and also when he was in Minnesota, he's been a different kind of player in Houston. And you already lose Nico Collins, and now it kind of turned him into the guy he was in Buffalo, the guy that's going to be the number one target, the guy that they're going to go to in key moments. He was going to be that for Houston until Nico Collins was able to come back. Now you look up and you're without Nico Collins and now Stefon Diggs. And I saw Tank Dell came out and said, hey, everybody has to step up. It's about, all the players, helping try to replace Diggs. But it's hard to think. I think they thought Diggs was going to be the guy to come in and take them over the top compared to last year. And now, hopefully with Nico Collins dealing with a hamstring, you give him back in a week or two, maybe 3 weeks. But it's just hard to think of the Houston Texans the same way we thought maybe they can impact this league this year and be a true contender. I'm not sure I see that for this team now going forward. We'll see how it all works out. I thought Tank Dell had been having, more of a quiet year, and you saw, I think, him play a little bit better with Nico being out this past game against the Colts. But you really need Nico Collins and Tank Dell to step up and be huge players. And I think another key guy for Houston that will need to have a big role is Dalton Schultz. I think Schultz is a guy who in the passing game has showed he can be a key member of a passing game, step up and make plays. And I think losing Diggs, who have been primarily in the slot, playing for this Houston Texans team, you can use Schultz in different areas from the tight end position that can help him be more effective and help this team be better. So I think he's a guy that I would hope to see step up and make more plays for this Houston Texans team. But just a tough break. I think Diggs is a guy who's really showed that he could be a part of a winning team and winning culture this year. So to see him go out, it definitely stings a little bit from any NFL viewer and fan watching.
Nico Collins was leading the league in receiving yardage when he exited October 6th in the win over the Buffalo Bills. He had that long touchdown, pulled the hamstring, hasn't played since then. They do need him back. Stefon Diggs' numbers were not through the roof. He didn't have a single 100-yard game so far this season. He was on pace to have just over 1,000 yards. He had 3 touchdown catches, 2 in the Week 1 game that they played against Indianapolis. So he wasn't having a massive production input, but the C on the jersey, the experience, the ability to mentor the younger players, that's all gone. And, hey, Devin, we talked about this with Pittsburgh earlier, and the Texans play Thursday night, and then they've got 5 days of nothing where they can try to explore what's out there. There's plenty of receivers who've been traded. And if you're the Texans, how are you not making the phone calls to see who's out there who could come in and replace Stefon Diggs? Why not Adam Thielen, who played with Diggs in Minnesota and has that same kind of vibe, a guy who can come in and has the veteran presence, has the experience in the postseason that could maybe help the team. And, Mike Williams' name's still floating around. There's other guys that might be available, but I think this gives the Texans an opportunity. It's not like it's going to matter for Thursday night. It's not enough time to get somebody in there for Thursday night, but I won't be surprised if come Friday we hear about some deal the Texans have made to bring in a receiver. It makes sense. You're suddenly a buyer at the deadline for a potential veteran presence at receiver who wants to come join a team that's on its way to a playoff berth.
Yeah. For every receiver out there and you're on a team that stinks right now, you got open tryouts. Like this game coming up this week, you got to go out there and perform. I look at a guy like Kendrick Bourne on the New England Patriots. You've heard talk about like Jacoby Myers on the Raiders. These guys that, whether you've been out of the lineup, like Jacoby Myers is hurt for a little while, he came back this Sunday, showed some good ball out there, looked healthy. Like you're trying out to see, hey, how can I get out of this bad situation I'm in and get to this contender that, I might give them a better chance to go win. Like to me, this is the time to do it because these teams that really believe in themselves, the Houston Texans, the Pittsburgh Steelers, all of these teams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're looking out there and saying, hey, we thought we were a playoff team coming in. We still have a chance to be a playoff team. We need help. And now is the time, I think, as a receiver and really any position, you got to go out there, and it's almost like the end of training camp when you go out there in those preseason games, and it's like you got to show all 31 teams what you can do. You got to show these contenders what you can do and how you can help. And guys are going to say the right things. Hey, I'm here. This is where I want to be. No, like if you're in a bad situation, you're on a sucky team right now, you want to get out of there. You want to be on a contender. I don't care what anybody says. So I look to see which guys go out there and perform well right now and take advantage of this open audition to be on a good team to end the season.
You have no faith in your Patriots. That's what you're saying. That's really what you're saying. You mentioned Kendrick Bourne. You got no faith. I thought you had faith. I mean, they toppled the Jets, the preseason Super Bowl favorite. Aaron Rodgers, MVP, yada, yada. This is going to inject new life into the – oh, never mind. I was just trying to have a little fun. Let's hear from both DeMeco Ryans, head coach of the team, and quarterback C.J. Stroud from yesterday on how to go about replacing Stefon Diggs, again, gone for the year with the torn ACL. Here they are.
Nobody has to do anything extra. Like, Joe still just has to be Joe. Nobody has to do anything extra. It's just everybody has to continue to do their job and do their part to help our team, be successful. And that's just about every guy going out, executing, and playing to the best of their ability. That's all I ever ask of our guys.
When bad things happen, I think you got to be able to, to keep your head on straight and, just to try to take the next step forward and not try to go backwards. And it's sad because, you feel like you're leaving somebody behind, but, it's the nature of the game. It's not fortunate, but, it's necessary, and I know he wants us to win and win it all. So, the other leaders got to step up. We need a leader in that room to step up now since, him and Nico are both out, and I got to be able to do better on that level as well.
They didn't say anything about bringing anyone in, but that's part of the leverage you need to have for these conversations. You got to act like, we're fine. You want teams calling you and saying, how would you like to trade for this guy? And you're like, we don't need him, but you're thinking, we can get him for a good deal, then maybe we're going to explore it. So I won't be surprised if they do it. They've got to go to New York, New Jersey on Thursday night and face the Jets, come out of there with a win, get the mini bye, and just have those 4 days or so to explore all their options. Doesn't mean they're going to do it, but you explore all your options. I'll never forget the first time I was in the room at an NFL facility where they've got on one side of the wall all positions and all the names of the guys on the team, and on the other side of the wall they got all the positions and all the names of the guys they'd call if and when they need somebody, and that's what it is. You have that list at every position. If we lose a guy, here are the guys we're looking at, whether they're available in free agency, whether you'd have to possibly trade for them. These are the guys we want. And it's you pull the piece out that's broken, you grab another piece, and you put it in. So they've got their list of who they'd want. It doesn't make sense to implement it now because there isn't enough time for a short week game. But come Friday, Saturday, we'll start to find out who they'll have in place for their next game.
Yeah, and I look at Thursday night as being a big evaluation for them because you're playing against a team that you got to feel like you can go on the road and beat them. But you also look and you're saying for our offense, you're going to go against a secondary that, coming into the season, a lot of people felt was one of the top secondaries in the league. You're going to get matchups against Sauce Gardner, with DJ Reed hopefully being back out there, and Michael Carter Jr. So, like, these different players, you can evaluate your receivers and see what it looks like. And I think it lets you know, and lets, GM Nick Caserio know, all right, how much do we really need to get another guy back out there, and how much do we need to just kind of hold off until we get Nico Collins back out there? So I think they're really going to be invested in this game and figuring out, all right, what do we look like? All right, how does our defense impact the game? Can we play better complementary football and change our identity and who we become? We got this guy, Joe Mixon, who, honestly, a lot of the games we've won this year, it's been on his back more than our passing game and C.J. Stroud anyway. All right, how do we change the game and lean into that more? Maybe we go with different personnel groups and we run the ball. Like, how do you kind of evolve into a different team without some of these guys on the field? I think that's what they're going to really look at. I think they're going to use Thursday night. Like you say, you get the mini bye after. You're playing against a team that's going to be really desperate, that you're going to say, all right, how do we look Thursday night? And then let's move forward with that being the picture we take. Yes, it's fresh off the injury, but let's really dive into this picture and see what we look like and base a lot of our decision-making off this Thursday night game.
And, now that I've been part of the NBC apparatus for 15 years, I've become like players are, where we only take it one game at a time. We don't peek ahead on the schedule. I did a double take when I looked at what the Texans have up next after the Thursday night trip to face the Jets. The Lions come to town for Sunday night football in week 10. So you better get some help if you're going to be looking for help at the receiver position, because here come the best team in football to Houston. That should be a hell of a game. But first they got to beat the Jets, because they went to MetLife Stadium last year and they lost to the Jets without Aaron Rodgers. And I think that was a game where C.J. Stroud got a little banged up, and maybe they didn't recognize he got a little banged up, and maybe he should have been yanked from the game. But they still lost there, so that gives them extra impetus to get it together to win this one, and then let's regroup for the showdown with the best team that the NFC, if not the NFL, has to offer. So they got some work to do. They get the extra days, and they're going to need them because the Lions are coming to town.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And you go and you beat the Jets. I think it allows you to get up and really prepare for that Lions game, because even though in the locker room, and a little bit of it is going to be true, like that game, the Lions game, is not going to decide the season, but the hype and everything around that game will feel like a playoff game. It'll feel like it has these huge implications. So I think as a team, yes, you try to combat that a little bit of being a little bit, realistic and being in the moment, but you can't help it. As a player, I remember some of these games, as you get later in the season, you get a Sunday night football game, everybody's watching, you're playing against one of the top teams. You want to go out there and stamp who we are as a team. You understand, all right, we're going to play the Detroit Lions. They have just ran through teams and destroyed teams. These 50-pointers, 45, like, they've destroyed teams. Like, we want to go out there and beat them. And I think especially when we look at the way they showed up and played against the Vikings earlier in the season, when the Vikings were hot and they were playing good ball, they played against this Houston Texans team, and they couldn't get anything going against Minnesota. So I think they will use that as a time to say, all right, this is one of the best teams in the league. We want to go out there. We want to beat them. We want to protect our home field. We want to give our fans a treat. So it's going to be a huge game, Sunday night football. Everybody's going to be watching that game. That's going to be a game of the year type of game. So they really, I think, they want to invest in this game a lot Thursday night to get a win, so you can be feeling good going into that game Sunday night.
And last year, the Texans put their wins together under the cloak of 1 o'clock Eastern anonymity for the entire season, all the way until Week 18, when they got pulled to Saturday night for what was the AFC South Championship game against the Colts. They can't hide the next 3 weeks. Yep. I didn't peek forward to Week 11. Primetime at the Jets, primetime Sunday Night Football at home against the Lions, and then the following week, they just go across the state to Dallas, and they get a chance to pounce and pummel the Cowboys. I remember when the schedule was about to come out, I'm thinking, can we please have Texans and Cowboys on Thanksgiving? That just would have been perfect. Whole dysfunctional family, Texas versus Texas. The Cowboys always look down their noses at the Texans. They're going to be looking up at the Texans this year. They are in the standings. That game's coming up as well. So get ready to see that blue helmet. Unless they wear the ugly-ass one with the light blue, I'm sorry. I don't like the one with the H on it. You've got an awesome helmet with that great Bull logo. I like the red one, too, with the Bull logo, but why would you not use the Bull logo?
Don't hate on that Houston blue. That's that Houston blue, Florio.
I don't mind the Houston blue. I just don't like that combination. They wore it one day, and it looked like a 5-year-old grabbed, his mom's tablet and started doing stuff with the paint application, if that's what it's even called anymore. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.